Okay, I think we can start. People will join later, even better. But it's 1:35. It's Friday afternoon. We don't want to push the event too long. We have tried to squeeze it in 2 hours and a half. We could even try to make it short. We understand it's complex to remain also until it's 1 hour and 1 hour ahead in Moldova, so it's going to end up quite late for a Friday afternoon. I would like to thank you all the participants for joining. We plan to have also the vet schools present. We won't have the opportunity. It is a very difficult and hectic time. We perfectly understand it. It would have been very difficult to have these events in another time slot, and we didn't want really to postpone it of several months like we've done it with other activities. However, we will make sure that the recording of the event will be distributed to all the vet schools who have done selfie, and of course to all policymakers which work in this area, and all international partners. So you will all receive a copy of the recording, and you will be able to share it with the people you think could be interesting in the topic we're going to discuss. Please make sure that you have accepted the fact of being recorded. Otherwise, we will not be able to use your intervention. So especially for speakers, please give your consent to the video recording. And for those who want to intervene and don't have any problem with video recording, please also accept these conditions. For the interpretation, as always, you have to click on the specific button at the bottom of the page and select the language you want to listen to. So let's give a quick look at the agenda. Super quickly, I will give you the objectives of the day. Then we'll have 3 presentations, which we call from selfie to action. So trying to see how we can develop digital school action plans, starting from the results of selfie. Overall, the whole day today is focused on schools compared to policies, which was the focus of yesterday. Then we'll have a very interesting presentation on methodologies to develop digital action plans from PAN. And we will start investigating about potential initiatives which are ongoing from national and international partners, which can support schools in developing digital action plans. And then we will conclude the session. So without further hesitation, I would pass the floor to Cesar for the first presentation.
Many thanks, Filippo, and welcome and good afternoon to everybody. It's my pleasure to be here. And as you can see when I share my screen, I would like to focus my presentation on the link between selfie and the school digital action plans, but with a clear, I think it will be more relevant to schools, as Filippo mentioned, because they are the ones in charge of developing this document or this initiative. So I will place the focus on that. Okay, when we speak about digital transformation in education, from our point of view, we refer to digital capacity of schools. There are many considerations about it, but in a general way, we can say that digital capacity implies an effective use of digital technologies for education. But this can be seen with 2 folds. On the one hand is to explore or to take advantages of the potential of digital technologies for education, but at the same time, we also need to think about how to better integrate and implement technologies for learning. So this is the digital capacity of the school, the ability, the capacity to use technologies for improve the education and the teaching and learning process. And taking this into account, we design selfie. Selfie is the tool which is developed, or which is designed, to promote the development of a school digital capacity. And as you can see here, and as we all know, selfie can be used by any school from almost all educational levels. And we have right now a selfie in more than 39 languages. So it is quite possible to cover a huge range of possibilities of different languages, of different schools. And the figures and this data shows that selfie is quite widespread. It is present in around 86 countries. So as you can imagine, in different educational systems, different type of teaching and learning processes, and selfie suits in all type of schools, because in some, selfie is just a tool which help schools to promote or to reflect about the way they use and integrate digital technologies. Since its official launch in 2018, we have a good number of users, and we expect to have more in the coming times. I took this picture because I think it's quite relevant, no? And I think that most schools and policymakers agree with that. The idea of digital technologies, of selfie or digital transformation of the school is not to put digital equipment in schools per se. No, that's not the good way to do so. No, the goal should be to help and support schools to prepare students for being part of this digital world, of digital society. So just putting technology in the schools is not enough. No, it should be the other way around. We need to support in schools, in be better prepared to have students right now, but future citizens in the future ready to deal with the new demands of the digital society and the digital world. So I think this picture helps a lot to think about it. And regarding selfie, just a quick overview. We have first the DIPCOM.org, is the the European Framework for Digitally Competent Education Organizations. And that was the first point in 2015. And from that theoretical framework, we developed this more practical tool. No? It is called, as we know, selfie. And it is based on DIPCOM.org, but in latest development, we can say that selfie is flying along and it's having their own updates, their own developments, but always with this clear base on DIPCOM.org. And regarding the schools, if we think, okay, selfie is good, but why selfie can be helpful for schools? And apart from the information that selfie provides, we will see later the selfie report, no, which is a very good document. It's not only that, it's not only the information, it's not only the scores. What is also very relevant for a school is this self-reflection process. No? This selfie allows schools to develop an internal debate, an internal discussion, to promote that different people take part in this process. No, I'm talking about teachers, students, school leaders, and each one is providing its own perspective to the whole global overview of the schools. And that's the most important thing. No? There are many other aspects that we have identified 8 areas in order to develop this digital capacity of the schools. But I think the focus or the main goal is to promote this self-reflection process. And as a final goal, to establish it as a school culture. No? This self-reflection be part of the school culture. And that will be applicable and extendable to another areas, not only about digital education. It can be also relevant to develop self-reflection process in other areas within the school life. If we go back to the selfie areas, we have identified 8. So selfie is focused on all these 8 areas, and all the questions from selfie are focused on this and how to develop further, identify trends, identify weak areas, strong aspects, anything. No? And we have, as you can see in the picture, different areas: students' digital competence, collaboration, networking, leadership. So these 8 areas comprises the school digital capacity. Also very important, as all better schools which take part in selfie, but is also relevant for other schools, we have some kind of flexibility. We have a set of common questions that all better schools will take when they have selfie. There are a set of optional questions that it can be decided to include or not. And finally, we have up to 10 questions to be redefined or right by every single school. But at the same time, it's also possible that, for example, policymakers, Ministry of Education, Regional Authority, use these 10 ad hoc questions to focus or to explore the feeling of the school on one specific topic. So here there's the possibility to be edited by each school, but also from the policymaker to provide the schools with these 10 questions that they should include in the self-reflection process. General ideas, as we might know, it is selfies for free. It is not possible to identify any single person using selfie because at any moment you are requested to enter any personal details. So it is not possible to identify any single person. Selfie, it is not designed to assess or to compare schools because there is no list of selfie schools. There is no list of selfie results. So schools can feel free to reflect, to think about the way they use digital technologies for learning, and that's the main goal, to allow schools to do so. And it's very important also to say that we have this global view because we collect the perspective from school leaders, from teachers, and from students. And regarding the time, we have like between 20 minutes for the students because they have less questions and 40 minutes for school leaders and teachers to do the selfie exercise. This is more or less the time that you need, and it must be done in one shot. So it's not possible to save and continue later. And finally, we have the selfie report that we are going to see in this slide. We have different possibilities. I will give you now a new development. We have the online interactive report, which organizes information according to the areas, to the different type of respondent. You can go into details into each area, and it's very visual, as you can see, organized by colors, by profiles, by areas. It is also possible to download this report in a PDF format with little less information, but also very relevant. And right now we have a new development. It is what it appears in the slide. It is also possible for each school to download the results in an Excel format. So in this sense, you can make some more deeper analysis. And this is something that is available right now. It is like 2 or 3 days ago that we developed this new modality. So it's a great novelty to all the schools. And finally, in order to link with next presentation by Spain, done by Anna, here is the approach that we think, the relation between selfie and the school action plan. Selfie is a tool. I always say no more, no less than a tool. So selfie provides you with information about the perspective of the school community, and selfie provides this information in a selfie report. But once the school receives the selfie report, now is the moment to analyze this data, this information, to think, to discuss, to debate about what are the aspects that need to be taken further, what are the other aspects that maybe we need to consider how to develop, how to replicate from one area to another. And once we have done this analysis and think of the initiative or the actions that we are going to take in the near future, is the moment to write this in a paper, in a school action plan that, in our view, should be part of the educational project of the school or bigger documents that are on the school. Then we implement the actions, designing this action plan in a fixed time. And once you have finished this implementation, maybe it's now, again, a good time to use selfie again to see what are the improvements, what are the things that went well or not. So it's like a cycle process with a clear focus between selfie and the action plan. Selfie is the tool, but the action plan is the instrument that allows you to design initiatives and to move ahead. But now in the next presentation, Anna will present better. Just to finish my part, we have here this our presence in social media. I invite you to join. We have selfie newsletter, LinkedIn group, our official website, the contact email for technical questions, and finally the hashtag in Twitter, which is quite dynamic in some periods, and I invite you to join. And before finalizing, first, I would like to thank you for paying attention to that, and I will pass the floor to Ana. Ana Hernandez is part of the Spanish Ministry of Education and VET, and she's directly involved in the development of the international projects such as Selfie and also this national project of a school action plan. She will give you more details about this thing that can be relevant both at policymaker level, but also to a school level, because she's going to present some examples. It's going to be very relevant. So Anna, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Tessa, for your presentation. Thank you all for inviting me and being here sharing all these practices that I'm sure they will be highly helpful for our practice. I'm going to share my screen to share my presentation as well. Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I will try to. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm at the office, so if you hear any noises, please stop me, okay? And I will try to tell my colleagues again, okay? So yeah, my name is Ana Hernandez. As Tessa said, I'm working at, excuse me, okay, just give me one second. Lourdes. Okay, sorry. My name is Ana Hernandez. I work in the Spanish Ministry of Education in TEF, especially in the Department of International Projects, and we have been working with Selfie and the school digital plan. So taking that into account that Cesar has already explained the tool, Selfie tool, I will focus a bit more on our action plan regarding digitalization of schools. Well, as I mentioned, we as the INTEF, as National Institute for Educational Technologies and Teacher Training, we are within the Ministry of Education and Vocational and Training. And we have developed these several actions to address this new context characterized by the digitalization. And I will just give you an overview of the topics I will deal with in the presentation. Just we will first contextualize the situation a bit, what led us to start these actions towards an action plan. We will see some references that has also helped us to develop what we have, and also Cesar mentioned them before. We have used Selfie tool, we have used some reference frameworks such as DIGCOMP DIGCOMP-EDU, we will see later on. And this led us to the development of an action plan for schools and the design to encourage schools to design their own digital school plan. I will show you the guide we have developed as well. We have created a guide for schools to help them on the development of their own school education, school digital plan. And I will show you some examples of plans and some templates that we use to help and give support to schools. So first of all, I will try with the context, and it's clear that a change in society has occurred lately. The society is changing constantly, and digitalization is a proof of that. So digital world is all around us. We as teachers and as individuals and also for our students. And this change in society has led to an increase in the use of digital technologies in all aspects of our lives, but also in the teaching and learning process. If we all remember the situation given by the pandemic with the COVID-19, we were forced, let's say, to use technology in order to maintain this teaching learning process. And we had to do it very rapidly, and if we were not used to it, we didn't have the option to do it in a coordinated way. So right now, some time has passed since the situation of the pandemic. is it time to establish a plan? Is it time to organize ourselves and establish how we can implement this use of technology to take the most of the technology to take profit of it? So we need to coordinate. We know that technology presents many challenges, but also many opportunities. And our task is to make the most of it and take the opportunities and find ways and strategies to fight against this challenge or try to find solutions for that. So we're seeing this need of organization and to find strategies and design action plans to give support to schools and at a final point to students. This is the main aim of education, right? To offer a integral training for and development of our students. We need action plans and we need them at all levels, from international, national, regional levels. But of course, schools are the one leading the change. So we need guidelines, but at the end is the school the main engine of this change. So let's start. Let's take schools as the starting point for this process of change. The references for the school digital plan comes from Europe as well. From Europe, it was something that had already been addressed, and the Digital Education Action Plan was developed already, the one from 2018-2020, in which this new Digital Education Action Plan is based. The new one is 2021-2027 from the European Commission, and the aim is to adapt education and training to the digital area. And this plan is also key for building the European education area for 2025, which has as the main aims the quality of education, inclusion, Green Deal, and innovation. This Digital Education Action Plan from the European Commission has 2 priority areas and 14 actions. There are many of them, but among which we would like to highlight digital plans reference to European and common framework for digital competencies that we will see they have served as a reference for us as well. So as we said, this is something important to be addressed from different level until we arrive to the school level. So at European level, we find, apart from this Digital Education Action Plan, we've got the DIGCOMP-org, this framework, the European Framework for Digitally Competent Educational Organization that Cesar already mentioned, on which SELFIE is also based. And it has 3 dimensions and 7 key elements. I'm just mentioning it here because you will see that all is linked at the end at some point. Okay, so just take this into account, this DIGCOMP-org framework. At national level, we've got the Spanish Ministry of Education and VET, and we've got our Spanish law on education, which includes aspects on digitalizations in these different articles you can see here related to the school educational project, which must include digital aspects, the digital strategy, and the general annual program that each school must have, including these aspects. We have seen European level, national level, regional level of, again, in Spain, they've got competencies in education. So there is also regional legislation addressing this topic of digitalization. And we get to the school as the main agent of change. And schools need to develop their own school digital plan, of course, supported by all the other levels that we have mentioned before. But the way to concrete all these actions must be in the school digital plan. Also important to take into account, apart from DIGCOMP-org, DIGCOMP-edu, which is the Digital Competence Framework for Educators from the European Commission. And we've got in Spain our reference framework for educators' digital competence as well. They are all based on the same areas and key elements. That's why all of them are linked somehow. Well, once we are centered on the schools and the school digital plan, after the pandemic and all the situation, and also encouraged by all the initiatives by the European Commission, in Spain, a new national plan was adopted called the Digitalisation and Digital Competence in the Educational System Plan, which is based on 3 main lines. One is the digital equipment, And as Cesar said, I would also like to highlight his reflection that it's not just the case and it's not just a thing to provide schools or teachers or students with digital equipment. If we just give this to school, there's what can we do with them? It is very important that we accompany this with support, as Cesar said. So selfie was one support for it. We will see some why. But in the lines of this plan, national plan, this digital equipment is going to be accompanied by teacher professional development and digital competence in students and teachers, and of course offering them resources to accompany them in all this process. And the third pillar, the third line, which is line 2 of the plan, is namely the school digitalization school digital plan. So this is one of the line of this plan, and the objective is that all schools in Spain will have a digital plan by 2025. So we have some years ahead to help and give support to all schools and help them to develop and design their own school digital plan. And for this digital plan, school digital plan, we suggest and we highly encourage schools to use selfie as a starting point to design their own digital plan. We will see how and why in the following slides. So why we could think that a school digital plan is necessary for schools and to continue with this process of change in education characterized by digitalization. Well, this plan is an opportunity to design a process and to start a transformation process. So this is the starting point to start something in a coordinated way. This is an instrument. It is an instrument to develop an organized digital strategy for the teaching learning processes, but also to other management process that happens in a school. The aim of this instrument is to support students' development, which is the final aim of education and of teachers, of course, and of schools. This instrument also must be included in some, here you have some documents that in Spain are compulsory for our school. This plan must be included in these documents so that it is something that affects the whole school as a unit and the whole school community as a whole, and they are all participating in that and they are all involved. So it must be included in the general annual program of the school, in the educational project, and also in the management and leadership project. And it must be something shared among all the school community to guide all the individuals and all the parts of the school community on the use of technology. So once we know and we have detected why we need a school plan, how can we start? What can I do? If I'm just giving you the view, the more practical view, if you are working on a school or if you want to help schools to develop and design their own digital plan. Well, we can start here from INTEF. As I said, we are the unit within the ministry in charge of teacher training and educational technologies. We have designed a guide for schools, for teachers. It is published. It has also been published in English. You have the link here. I can also write it on the chat if you like later on. It is in English, so you can have a look at it. And this is a guide to help schools in the process of designing their own digital school plans, adapted to the needs and context. We cannot just provide one plan, unique plan for all the schools. It must be something adapted and contextualized to the situation of each school, which is unique. So in this guide, you can find a description on how this school plan, what is it based on, and what the main parts are. So the structure would be as follows. As you can see here, it has 6 parts. It will start, this digital plan will start with an introduction, the school definition, stating where the school is, how our students are, what is the situation, their economical, social background. So we need to define the characteristics of our schools and what we can find in our school. Then the second part is very important because it's going to be our starting point. It's going to be the context analysis. And for that, we suggest and we highly recommend, and it's written in our guide, is the use of selfie. As Cesar told before, selfie is a tool of self-reflection. So it is a very good starting point for school to reflect on the situation in an ordered way. They've got different questions ordered in areas, in 8 areas. So they answer these questions. While doing so, they reflect on that. And at the end, when you finish selfie, you get a picture of the school in that situation. So this analysis with this picture will help us to start an analysis of the situation and establish what we want to get, what the objectives we want according to our needs and what we need and our strengths and our weaknesses. So once we have used selfie, we have the picture of our schools, we start to analyze our weaknesses, our strength, what we want to achieve. And this will lead us to the next point, which is objectives. Also, to achieve these objectives, we need to establish actions, concrete actions that will help us to accomplish these objectives. And these actions in our guide, they are divided in sub areas, which are the same elements that you can find on decomp.org and which are the same that you can find in selfie. So here you can see that everything is linked and one thing to another. Once these actions are established, we need to work on them and we need to establish a timeline for the actions. And as the last part of our plan, the assessment of the plan. So here you can see how we could design the action plan of our school, starting by the introduction and analysis of the context. We reflect on that, we establish objectives, specific concrete actions, when and how we would develop them, and finally an assessment of the plan. So this is what we offer. We can offer our schools. This is something that is published in our website, Inter website, and we also have a template for schools. This is just the structure I have mentioned before. It is written in Spanish, but it's just the same points. I just wanted you to see the original document. That's why I put here a picture of the real document, but it's just the same areas, the same structure that I have mentioned before. And we give a very small description of each item, because the long description and the guide and many questions to support the different areas can be found in the guide. So this is a template that schools would just need to go through it to complete the different points. This would be the template, and then they have the guide, which is more developed, in which they can find more questions to support them on this reflection and the design of the plan. So we've got the guide, we've got the template, and I also wanted to share with you some examples of the school digital plans. It's in Spanish because I've just taken the picture from the school plan. All the data, personal data, are erased, so you can only see on the top that it says Plan Digital de Centro CEIP, and the name is not there. But just to give you an overview of what the index was of their plan, and as you can see in the index, you can find the structure I mentioned before. I have chosen this example because I wanted to show you something important, and it's something that Cesar also mentioned before. Is the link between selfie and the school digital plan and the real action that we are going to take. So in this plan, for example, of this school, I have chosen some things to share with you. In the part of the content analysis, they used selfie for that, and they included in their plan all the results of selfie and an analysis of the results. You can see it here. It's in Spanish, no problem. I'm just giving you the overview of these graphics, and what is written there is that they reflected and they got to the final reflection that the use of technology in the school was low, according to the punctuation received in this picture of the school that we get with the selfie report. So we complete an analysis using selfie. We know the use of technology in the school is low. What can we do now? Well, taking into account this analysis, we're going to design an action The action in this case in the school was this one here. It's in Spanish, but I will give you the main overview. The action designed was they wanted to use Teams, this app by Microsoft Office, as the main working tool for students and teachers, and they were going to create working groups in Teams to be used as the meeting point for them to upload materials and homework. This is what you can see written down here in this table, in this chart. And here you can see who is going to do it, if it's going to be annual during the whole year and that. So the action designed, taking into account the analysis of selfie, was to use Teams as the main working tool. Another point that I would like to highlight of this school plan was that also following the analysis made with selfie, they realized that they had difficulties, students had difficulties to use technology. So this is what you can see on the background. Okay, you see the result of selfie, the analysis of selfie, what was the situation, what the situation was. What they decided, the action designed was, you can see it here in Spanish. The action was to offer students training on typing, a typing course to teach students on how to type on the computer so that they could use it to create a Word document, for example. So something very basic. As you can see it here, it is said primero de ESO, which is the first year of secondary education. So they wanted to start with first year of secondary education, offering their students a typing course so that they could use the computer and Microsoft Word to write their own essays, for example. It is just an example to show you how important this report and this reflection on the situation of the school is, and how useful selfie can be in order to establish the starting point, and it can help us to order and organize our action plans directed to the objectives we want to achieve based on the needs we have in our schools. This was all from the same digital school plan, and it just also a way to show you, because we need to evaluate somehow how these actions are evolving. So they were going to evaluate the action, they were going to measure them with different points depending on where they are. If it was something not done, if it was something that has been started, if it was something in progress, or if it was something accomplished. It's just an idea to help you to reflect on the development. Once we have the actions, we need to do a follow-up and see how we develop them. Here you can find another example. This is another, these are screenshots from another school digital plan. You can see it's something very different, right? The other was like a document with a lot of text, the structure. This is not the real action plan, the school digital plan, which is a complete document. But I wanted to highlight that this school, apart from this complete document, prepared a presentation, very visual, as you can see here, to share with all the school community. And this was a way to disseminate their own digital school plan, and also to engage the school community. Because if you share with them a very long document, maybe they're not going to understand. But if you somehow you show them the main ideas, and in this very visual way, maybe it is more attractive and you can get more people engaged, and you can disseminate the plan and see with the others, with students, with families, with all members of the school communities. This was just to give you some ideas of the school digital plans that we have seen so far. We still have some more years ahead to accomplish our objective, that all schools have a school digital plan, and it's highly linked to all the frameworks we have mentioned before, and the use of the selfie tool as the starting point. So yeah, as Cesar can also say that, but many Spanish schools have used selfie, are using, and will use selfie, because it's not something that it's done once and never again. It's something that needs to be repeated again to see the progress, to see how we have developed, if we need to improve other things, if we have improved, and keep on working on other aspects. So I hope this you find this helpful for for your plans. And if you have any questions, you can, I don't know if we have time for questions now or later on, or if you wrote something on the chat.
Thank you very much, Anna. Definitely we have time for questions. So anybody can raise their hand or write a question in the chat. Anna, if you stop sharing the screen, thank you very much, so we can see exactly you. So it's easier for the question and answer session.
Yes.
I have a few comments from my side while people reflect on whether they want to ask something. First of all, the timing is relaxed in the sense that there was no decision centralized, top down, next year you will have a plan. I mean, there's a lot of voluntary basis, bottom up, with a time for schools to reflect and the final deadline, which is in 3 years' time. So what we are seeing here is that the important thing, my understanding is that for the ministry, the important thing is keep the ball rolling. Okay, so we don't have to stop. The COVID is finished, or it's almost finished, luckily. We don't have to stop, we have to continue. There's no rush to have everything finalized because this is something new for school. Schools have their work to do. I mean, you cannot enforce to actually do everything at the same time, but it's important to keep really the ball rolling. Sharing with the community, this is another key element which I found in your presentation. I think is very interesting. I mean, all schools start from the same point. I mean, before, to be very honest, before the pandemic, there was very little use, and for all schools that required experimenting. So when you start experimenting, it's very important to have this peer learning approach to see what other schools are doing. If they are doing it, maybe I could do it. Sometimes you are scared of engaging in a process, but maybe you see a school which it's exactly in your same condition from a similar area, and then you can actually motivates you to try the same. So I like very much the tangible examples that Anna provided. Sometimes we make the mistake of always looking ages ahead and proposing this science fiction, virtual reality, blended reality, meta reality, and sometimes you start from the simple things. I mean, if you want students to start working on the computer instead of handwriting, maybe you can train them in typewriting. This is not, it's a simple thing, but these are the building blocks. Having a platform for helping teachers to share documents and presentation and teaching material. I mean, you need to start from the basis, and this will create the ownership in the teaching stuff. So I really like the examples very much. I would like to thank Anna for her presentation. I think it's very relevant for Moldova. There are many aspects that they can really pick it up. I was also curious of the fact that also selfie is voluntary, if I got it right. So schools are invited to use it, but you don't have a regular system level selfie assessment, is it?
They're strongly invited and strongly recommended, but it's not a thing that, it's not something that you need to impose. If schools see it as a tool to start the digital plan, then they will use it, because without selfie they don't know where to start. Some others, maybe they have it very clear, but it is a help to establish where you are and what you want to achieve. I mean, imagine you've got a blank paper. What can you do with that? So to have a clear starting point with real data, with real information of your own school is quite useful for schools. So it's not something compulsory, but of course it is recommended in the guide and in all our. We are also accompanying teachers and schools. It's not just we provide them with training, with support materials and all that, to give them time to be more aware of the situation and to design their own plans. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Anna. I'd like to point you out that our colleague Erika has uploaded on the chat the document to the guide. Yes, it is in Spanish, but I think you can do miracles with Google Translate now. So I'm sure that if you want to have a look, you can quite clearly understand the content of the guide. Now, I would like to.
Filippo, can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Actually, the link also provides an English guide, so it's perfectly fine for us. Thank you very much for this guidance. I actually wanted to ask how often usually schools apply selfie tool in your country. Do you think that once a year it's enough, or they use it more often? And apart from this question, I want to also to some more information about your schools are using now Microsoft Teams. This is quite a sophisticated tool. I mean, this tool is developed now during pandemics very intensively. And if your schools are so advanced and they are using already this tool, that's really impressive. How you manage to convince people, or maybe your level of digitalization is already high enough already to apply this tool and really to use it like a working tool. And one more question. You mentioned that you start teaching students, pupils to type from first year secondary education. Does it mean that primary education is not quite a focus for digitalization, or what's the situation? Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Veronica. I'm just I'm writing your question so that I don't forget. Yes, the document is also in English, and I have seen Erika wrote typed it on the chat. Regarding the selfie different stages and the times a school completes selfie, maybe Cesar can give you more information about that. But which is so sure is that schools are using it once, which is usually at the beginning of the year or at the end of the previous year, to use it as a starting point for the digital plan. So they do it once to establish where they are and have it as a starting point for this plan. Then what we recommend is to repeat this after at the end of the school year, for example, but it really depends on how you have designed your plan. Maybe if your plan has a duration of 2 years time in order to measure everything, then you need to repeat it maybe in several times, 2 times, for example, or maybe once a year. It really depends on how you have designed your plan. But of course, the ideal would be to repeat it to see where you are and adapt again your plan according to the achievements that you get when you repeat selfie again. But if schools are, most of them are starting with their digital plans, so they have done it once. Some schools have had started before using selfie, so they are using it for the second or third time. So it really depends on the school. Regarding the use of Microsoft Teams, it's not something that is generalized. It's not something we recommend from the ministry. It really depends on the school. They decide on the platform they want to use. Some schools even have their own platforms for their own school or some other private with other companies. It really depends. It's not something that is generalized. It was just the example of this. The example I took from the plan is from one specific school, but it's not the case of all schools. It depends. And regarding the question about this typing competence, let's say in the first of secondary education, again, this was a case of this particular school. It does not mean that if you go to another school, students are able to type perfectly. And if you go to another school in which maybe students don't have access to technology at home, they're not able to type on the computer. Maybe they're able to use a phone, but they're not used to use a computer at home. So again, it really depends on the school, on the context. But it's not that in primary education, it is not, that digitalization is not part of primary education. It actually is, and it's also the case for early childhood education. One of the actions in this national plan I was telling you before is to include modifications in the Spanish law covering education. So the curriculum has been adapted to include contents of artificial intelligence, programming, computational thinking, and all that. So it's something that it's being included in the curriculum and something that it's explored since early stages of education. But again, it depends on the school. If you go to a rural school, maybe it's more difficult to provide this kind of equipment, or that students are more used to it because they don't have it at home. So it really depends, but it's something that is promoted by law, let's say, in the curricula from early stages of education.
Thank you very much. There is a comment from Pan. I cannot read the full thing. Pan, can you elaborate on this model from Cyprus?
Yes, hi everyone. Just to add that there are cases like schools, innovative schools in Cyprus, that they run selfie at the beginning and the end of the school year. But most of the schools run it once. And my suggestion is to do it not at the beginning of the school year, because in this case, you cannot engage the newcomers, teachers, or the first grade students. That's why I think it's better to do it not at the very beginning of the school year. Once per year, I think is fine. But as I said, we have also cases like schools in Cyprus that for their own purposes, they do it twice per school year. There is the only limitation in the tool is that you can run it up to three times per school year, because Selfie divides the school year in 3 periods, and you can do it once per period. So you can do it once from August up to December. You can repeat if you want, or do it from January to April, middle of April, more or less. And the third period is from middle of April until middle of July. So in principle, you can do it up to 3 times. But as I said, one is the most common, but we have also cases that they do it twice.
Thank you very much, Pan. If there are no other questions, I don't see hands raised, so I would move forward. We wanted to present also some models from Moldova. Moldova is, as all the countries have started in every school to reflect on these topics, and there are a lot of interesting experimentations. The Center of Excellence for Informatics and Informatic Technology is, of course, for the national among the most advanced. I'm very glad that Olga accepted our invitation. So we wanted to also look at what's happening in Moldova, what is Olga's view of these developments, and how she sees things. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Hello, dear experts in selfie. Hello, dear colleagues that promote this tool. Recently, from November, we were launching this tool and we managed to appreciate it. My name is Olga. I'm a professor in the Excellence Center for Informatics and ICT, and I would like to present to you the situation in our institution. Obviously, this tool is focused on 3 categories of respondents: school management, teaching staff, and students. And there are included all the aspects that were added in the selfie. We can see here the details. And looking at this table, I can say that it's a beautiful table, but in reality, we have a lot of work to do. And I would like to go in detail. At the beginning, I was not very happy when I was proposed as a coordinator, but once I started working, I started being very happy because this tool keeps motivating us. We got registered, we got a badge, right? After the registration, we added the respondents, and as you can see here, for the school leadership, out of the 8 entities that I expected will respond, only 6 logged in and responded. 2 others were sick. If to speak about teachers, we have a 100% participation. I wrote 80 teachers. And for students, I wrote 1,200 students, but I've noticed that many more were interested and more participated, which made us very happy. If we look at the areas, there were questions only for the school leadership and for the teachers, and then there were other questions which were common for all 3 categories. And as you can notice, the replies are varying. And we have the scores. They vary as well from 4 to 5. The opinions are pretty close, but still there are differences. If we are speaking about integrating IT tools, we have results on all the areas, in all the levels. Because our institution was part of several projects at national level with the support of the government, and thanks to the support of our school principal, we do have a good infrastructure. But if we look at the area of collaboration and communication culture, when we analyze the scores, we notice that the opinion of the school leadership and the opinion of the teachers are very close, maybe close to being identical, not identical, but close. When we speak about the discussion regarding using tools, students are more reserved. They give us the impression that we do have work to do. And on partnership, we have very similar results. If to speak about infrastructure and equipment, actually, I wanted to say here about technical assistance. This is true. The score is low, but still our institution is supported. We have a team of technicians guided by an engineer with very high capacity, which supports us in every moment we need it. But probably students were maybe in the regions with less high-speed internet, or maybe they had issues with our system. So this reflected in their opinion, or maybe the students are more critical, or maybe they see the situation different. If to speak about the digital devices for learning, we see here this score, and the school leadership has a lower score than the teachers and the students. What else? If to speak about the continuous training of teachers, we still work on it. It's one of our priorities. And me, I'm a trainer in this institution. I monitor the teachers. And I would say that the results are accurate. There's very little error in these replies. And somehow the school administration gave the maximum score, like 5. You can see here participation, whilst the teachers see this reality less perfect. And if to speak about the exchange of experience, teachers made a pretty high score, but this means that there is a space for improvement. If to speak about integrating the ICT in the teaching process, here we have the first customizing it according to the needs of the students. As you can see here, the score, they give us the impression that they see the positive in this area. Their needs are taken into account. The replies for stimulating creativity give us the impression that we're doing a good job, and at involving or engagement of students, I have to say that we include the students in the school group. We have joint meetings, and but still I see that they see as a low score. And I can tell you that our students are willing to get involved. And I wanted to comment about the students' competences. They really try hard. If to speak about the integration of technologies in an evaluation process, I actually had other expectations. I thought that people are going to give us a lower score, but I can see that this score is pretty high and our efforts are appreciated. All the trainings that we provide, all the educational resources that we provide, all the digital resources that we create seem to be appreciated.
We're working, but still there is room for improvement. And concerning the safety is still an area to improve, and also creation of digital content. So it's a source of self-critique. The presentation that I'm showing to you is developed in cooperation with a student, and I see that they are interested in getting involved in extracurricular activities, aiming to digitalize them. And it's good that they still have this course, because that allows us to think about how to improve through specific activities. In the institution, we have a plan that will help us to solve the problems that were identified in the Selfie report. And it is a team formed of the leaders and professors that has developed this plan. And we also identified the lack of time for teachers as one of the deficiencies. So this is one of the things to be solved. And together with the head of continuing education, we discussed, and we will have to organize a training related to time management. And together with the president of the trade union committee, we discussed about, how shall I put it, equality of the working load. We know that there are some teachers that accumulate 2 jobs, and they are facing the problem of time management. And maybe we will find a consensus so that teachers could manage better their time. As for the low digital competences among teachers, this is the score. Teachers have claimed that there is room for improvement, whereas the management feels the situation is better. Maybe they think that if we run different training and activities, from their observation, they think the situation is much better. Teachers think first of the quality, not only of the quantity. So these are the things to be implemented, like training teachers in how to develop their digital skills, sharing good practices, good examples at the local level on how to integrate or streamline the digital technologies in the education. I apologize, I have a background noise. So you see the dates when we had the training. Then for January, December 2022, we will have another series of training on the development of open educational resources. Another problem is low digital skills in the family. I'm glad that Selfie is very comprehensive and covers different areas, covers different categories of the beneficiaries of the educational process. And we thought to organize awareness sessions for parents. Since we run different activities in the community, we thought to meet with parents. Another problem is how to engage better the students. Oh, you know that when we had the online classes, some students will hide behind a tent off camera. They will pretend that their mic doesn't work. However, we think that solutions can be found to such issues as well. We will encourage teachers in webinars on how to train students and how to develop active attitudes towards learning among students, or how to make more interactive the curriculum content in order to foster the active involvement of students in online classes. We insisted on training the teachers, as you can see, and also to organize activities that will promote the institution. We will also focus on volunteering activities, extracurricular or extra school activities, academic mobility. So some activities were already conducted and we see touchable examples and changes. So the changes are really positive. So it all started back in September 2021. Another area which is priority for us for the improvement is the cooperation between the school and different organizations or other schools, and the management claimed that they cooperate, they still have a cooperation, but they want more. And those teachers that did not get involved in such cooperation provided their answers, and you see the score. We want to involve them into mobility programs, into training and cooperation related to program development, curricular development, professional development, and to expand and build the cooperation with the business environment, with different institutions and companies in order to run educational projects, and to train the teachers from other institutions of the VET system. Another issue is the study visits. We planned to organize study visits for the teaching staff, as well as for students. I was mostly involved, and I care so much about the well-being of students that has an impact on students, and I focused on those activities that can be done by teachers to enhance their own activity. Well, by being supported by the management. Only together we can cope, we can manage. This is our motto. And what is the current situation? This is what I'm going to demonstrate now based on the activities that we established at the end of November. Some of the activities have not yet been put in the pipeline. Some were successfully implemented, like development of digital skills among teachers. We had 2 courses already. There are almost 200 teachers. Our plan is to further provide such courses to them. There is an interest on behalf of the teachers. We also shared examples of good practices. We had a webinar in October, one seminar in January, and at the beginning of April, we will organize a roundtable. If you have the possibility, you are more than welcome to assist. Another activity on the training of teaching staff is the one related to development of open educational resources. We provided opportunities to our colleagues to participate in the webinars or seminars organized by other institutions. Our teachers received certificates of attendance. Thanks to different projects, we have these opportunities, contests. Yesterday, there was a contest or a competition, and some of our teachers won laptops. So I'm very glad for their achievements. And this aspect related to low digital competences or skills in the family, the director had some meetings and we managed to organize some meetings with parents. So it was a presentation similar to what I'm presenting now. We also have meetings with parents that cover specific topics or subjects. Concerning the involvement of students, we managed to have master classes, training sessions, exchanges of experiences, workshops, updating the Moodle courses. So students are more involved in different curriculum and extracurriculum activities. For some activities, they are awarded. The school is cooperating with other organizations. We managed to do something in this relation as well, like, for instance, cooperating with various institutions, common workshops, working meetings. We have accounts on Moodle that allowed us to do common or shared exercises like simulations. So we have used our courses on Moodle. We had common lab courses or classes together with the specialists from various companies. We had a training for the teaching staff. Well, the end of one workshop is actually the beginning of another. When we finish a class, we understand that actually we need to meet again and share more relevant resources, do more activities. So it's a catalyzer. As for the study visits, there was an invitation from a light testing company to have a study visit for teachers. So we've launched this process. So we have established the agenda for the meeting. In April and May, we plan to have a guided excursion for teachers and students in Romania. I'm very glad that we have managed to get involved in this questionnaire because we felt the need. I think you always need an analysis to understand what's the current state of affairs in relation to the digitalization of your institution. Thank you. If you have any questions, please.
from one side, I'm very much impressed. However, I already knew that the Center of Excellence for IT on this area was one of the leading institutions, and I'm not surprised. But as you can see, I mean, it was not a request from the ministry. I mean, this came naturally after the implementation of SELFIE. So this bottom-up approach that also Anna told us about, implemented in Spain, we can see that also in Moldova is working. I wouldn't say it could work in all countries. I am a bit more skeptical about Italy, for example. But clearly, Moldova is one of the countries where you have a fertile ground, where the schools do want to improve in these areas. So what SELFIE does is helps, as Olga said, it helps you give you the full picture. Like, don't forget any aspect. Like, families are important. I mean, very low digital capacities, the family does have a consequences of the children. So it really helps to really dig out all the different elements and having students and teachers having confrontations about things. Sometimes students are more critical, more often, but there are cases where you see answers from students who are surprisingly high. Like, I didn't expect them to be appreciating this aspect. So I think these are the elements which strike me more about Olga's presentation. It makes me even more optimistic than before, and I really look forward in the coming months and years, if we continue to work on this topic, to provide as many opportunities as possible for her, for the Center of Excellence in ICT, and also for the other schools. We have an activity which will launch next week. I take the opportunity because Olga is here. Is part of the ETF Network for Excellence, which is a network of Center of Excellence, where we will investigate areas of digital education reforms which schools and Center of Excellence could be interested in, and we will have during the year some technical webinars, which I think are going to be very interesting learning opportunity. Olga, I will send you the link in case you didn't receive it already, the invitation. Participation is according to your availability. You can participate in a few of them, not all of them, as you really find useful for your personal development and the development of your center. If you have any questions for Olga, you can raise your question, put it in the chat, or raise your hand.
If I can,
Veronica.
Just a remark. The idea of Center of Excellence also means not just the fact that they are excellent in what they are doing, but the fact they have other institutions affiliated. And this means that Center of Excellence has also responsibility not only for their own staff and their own students, but also for affiliated institutions. And I'm glad that in this case, we have really a very good Center of Excellence that has done its homework very well and providing a best example, a good example for other institutions. So in this sense, we are very, very relaxed. More than this, they should have affiliated not only those institutions that are teaching how to become an IT specialist, but also all that institutions, because digitalization is important for all of them. So they have quite a task to do, not double but even triple. And seeing how they are progressing, I'm optimistic that this will happen. So this good experience will extend, and they already started doing these webinars and seminars and so on, and the network will increase. And thank you, Olga, for accepting to do this presentation. I just wanted to say one remark. I noticed everywhere that students are the most critical. And if the leadership and the teachers are appreciating quite well the situation, students are critical. And I think this is a good sign because, and we have to pay attention to this. And not only in Moldova, I noticed that in other countries too. This means that our final client, our final product for whom we are working should be of good quality. So thank you. Thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Veronica.
Thank you very much. Yes, students are a good indicator because they are the ones who benefit from all these outcomes and they have demands, which is good. They care about our level of development and our professionalism. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olga, again. It was really very interesting. Also, the next presentation, I really look forward. I would like to thank Pan for joining. I would like to apologize. I have actually used a wrong email address for Pan, so I made his participation quite difficult. So I'm glad that in the end, he managed to be present. This is a very interesting, I mean, Pan will give us the full details. It's a very interesting project, which really tried to provide a strong methodology for transforming selfie in digital action plan. So really, we are going into details of a sophisticated methodology. Pan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Filippo, all for this opportunity. Actually, I'm going to share with you some things we have developed to help schools to do what more or less Olga presented, namely to translate the results from selfie tool to something that is really, useful and practical and so on. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Okay, here is a few things about me. Just to say that I used to be the project leader of Selfie since the inception until 2022, working at JRC in Seville. But I am also a school teacher. I used to be also a school head. I have a lot of experience in education from different perspectives, and that's why, and I want to go back what Olga said, that what students say is a very good indicator about the real situation. And just to mention that we designed Selfie in a way that the students have a strong voice equally with the one of teachers and school leaders. And when we analyzed similar tools, we found that very few other tools take into account the voice of students. Normally, it is the school leaders and some teachers that decide about learners, about students. And this is also the case in general in education, that some policy makers, decision makers, educational authorities, others are deciding about learning without learners in this. But Selfie changed this, and I think this is already a very big achievement. So that's why I wanted to start with this, that Selfie brings together the three different perspectives for the same reality, that the people that are at the position of school leaders, the ones that are teachers and the ones that are students, have a different experience, understanding of the same reality. Okay, and we had many cases that they said that now through Selfie I realized that our students had this experience, or the other something that is we have more or less the same understanding, or in some cases that we have big difference in our perspectives and experiences. And also the other thing is that it's very comprehensive. The questions of Selfie cover many different aspects, from infrastructure, that's always a case, an issue, but also the teaching and learning, the student-teacher competence. It's very comprehensive, and it looks in many different areas, not only on the infrastructure area, for instance, or not only on leadership or something else. And the results of selfie, this is very important to understand, is a snapshot. That's why we call it selfie. It's an image that says where you stand at this specific moment, okay? And these results, of course, can be used for planning. That's why you have many opportunities to see in many different ways. But there is a lot of information there. And the results does tell you that you have to do this or that. No, it's like a real picture that I take it and I then see the picture I took, and then I see, oh, I lost some more hair, or I took some more kilos. I have to interpret what the image, the snapshot shows, okay? And this is the real challenge for schools. We realized when we launched Selfie that the schools appreciate the information, the image they get, but they have a difficulty on how to translate this information in something practical, something that they can do in order to improve. Because there they need to discuss, they need to find themselves what can be done to prioritize, to decide on what is possible and what is not. And we know for sure that the results that they get from Selfie are reliable, are results that make sense, provide a very good picture. Because when you have so many people involved in this self-reflection process, even if some of them, they don't provide the accurate picture, you have this triangulation, the school leaders, teachers, and students, and many different people. So at the end, we know, and we have published related papers, that the results are reliable and valid. But as I said, the real challenge in this cycle of Selfie, to reflect through the tool, to discuss the results, to plan, and to put this plan into action, the real problem goes on the planning and creating the action plan. And that is why we developed this pedagogical toolkit that I'm going to present to you right now. But before presenting the tool, I want to emphasize again that through Selfie, you know where you are. And here I want to use the words of Vygotsky, the famous psychologist who spoke decades ago about this zone of proximal development. For instance, we know that each school operates in a very specific environment. It has very specific context. Some schools are in areas that they have a higher or lower socioeconomic background. They have better or less better infrastructure. All these differences, even in the same city, different schools have different settings. And that's why there is a zone, a margin that the schools can improve, okay? In order to do this, first they have to do Selfie to understand where they are, what is the current situation, and then to develop a plan to go to the highest possible level. But we know, and we don't expect that they can do miracles, they can do something that is not possible, but just to improve as much as possible. Okay. And now we come to the Selfie Pedagogical Toolkit. What is this? This is a package of resources, very well structured, as you will see in a second, that help schools to do what Olga presented earlier, for instance, to take these results, to interpret, to understand what you have there, to put priorities, to set some goals, and build through these results a feasible, this is the key question, the feasible action plan, because it's very important to do something that is manageable, can be implemented, and can give you some results, than to design for something that is not realistic. Something that can improve the digital capacity of your school to 1, 2, 3 specific areas, okay? And this is the Selfie PDK. How we develop this pedagogical toolkit? This has been developed in the context of Sherpa Erasmus Plus project with partners from different countries, that is Cyprus, Greece, Italy, Estonia, Finland. And we did some comparative analysis of self-initiatives in these countries plus some more countries. You see in red color the Sherpa partner countries, and in green color the additional countries we surveyed. Then we did some research on implementation of selfie and analyzed what are the current strategies and experience on how the selfie is used. And based on this, we realized that we need to provide a structured way that schools can use in order to develop a realistic, feasible action plan. And these are the steps. Okay, you see that we have 3 phases in this process. Since the time that you have the results from self-exercise, from selfie, from collective reflection through selfie. And the first step is to review the results, to go to the selfie report, to review and see what you get. Okay, then to select the items in step 2 that are the more interesting for you. Because as I said, in selfie, you have a lot of information and you cannot manage. The purpose is not to use everything, okay? Sometimes, you know, less is more. We had strongly advised, don't try to do anything, but prioritize, as in step 3, what makes for you more sense, what is the most urgent, most realistic, and most important, and something also that the school community agrees that we can do, we must do, okay? And for all this, you see that there are some guidelines also. It's not only that we define what does it mean in this step, what you have to do, but there is specific documents, guidelines, and all the support that the school needs to do it. In phase 2, you have to describe now, you go to start developing the plan. You have to describe the activities that you're going to do in order to achieve the goals that you set on step 3. And then on step 5, fine-tune your plan. And this is very important, set how you know that you achieved these goals. Because this is also very important. We say that we want to improve, for instance, our digital infrastructure or the digital competence of our teachers. You have also here to say, okay, I have this goal. I am going to do these activities. But you need also to say how you will know at the end of the process that you achieved or not this target. Then in step 6, you have to implement your action, you have to follow what you're doing and so on, and of course to monitor and evaluate if finally what you planned you achieved and so on. And then of course, as we discussed previously, selfie is not that you run once and this is it. No, it's a process that the better case scenario is to run it once per year. So next year you set again selfie, you get the new results, and you follow again the same cycle. And this time you can do similar actions if you want to go deeper or improve what you achieved, or you can do other things. It's a new process, but following the same steps. Okay. Here you see that the steps are presented in a linear way, but this does mean that you cannot go back forward, because sometimes, for instance, if you see, for instance, that here in the evaluation, it's very difficult to find a way to check if you achieved your goal or no, maybe you can change and go for another action, all this kind of thing. Now, in the Selfie website, the Selfie PDK website, there is all this information, all the guidelines, everything is available for free, anyone can use and download. So far, we have this material available in English, in Greek, Italian, and Finnish, but we are happy to allow other people to translate this material and have more languages. Currently, with the collaboration with the Portuguese Ministry, we are translating the materials in Portuguese, and maybe more translations will come. But so far, these are the available languages. And you have two options: to go to the website and click the different areas and see step by step, download the guides and so on, or the other option is to download one PDF standalone file with all the information you need in order to follow the steps described by Selfie PDK tool. And here I want to just again to emphasize that you see, for instance, how one action is described, one step, sorry, is described. You see the short description, how you can perform this step. You have the tools that you need. I mean, the templates, the files, both as Word files or PDF or PowerPoint. You have some tips, things that you have to pay special attention. So you have everything you need in a very handy, very structured way. And this is not a theoretical exercise. We have applied this and pilot with real schools, and we know that this is something that works. We had already the pilots in Cyprus and Italy. Now we are running the pilots in Finland and Estonia. And we know that what we produced is something that helps schools to translate, transform the results from selfie tool to a feasible action plan. And on top of this, we have developed a MOOC, a massive online course that's available again for free, that explains again how you can use selfie PDK and the results from selfie in order to create your own action plan. In this MOOC that is self-paced, you can start whenever you want and you can finish at your own pace without any pressure. It's available in English, but we have 12 original standalone videos that can be found in the YouTube channel that they have also subtitles. So far, they have subtitles in English, Spanish, Italian, and Greek. But now we are developing some more subtitles in other languages. And as I said, in this MOOC, we describe the full cycle, and in these videos, from setting the tool, getting the results, analyzing the results, discussing, prioritizing, developing the action plan, monitoring the plan, and so on. And of course, it is based on the Pedagogical Toolkit. And as I said, you can follow the MOOC at your own pace, or you can just watch one or more of the videos. So to sum up, we know that selfie is a process. In this process, when you have the results, you need to discuss and plan for some action. And this is the real difficult part of this process. And that's why we have developed this pedagogical toolkit to support the schools in order to have a structured way and all the materials they need to do this in a very effective way. This is a journey, this is a process. You have to start working on it, and as you go, you hope that it's going to be a road full of discovery. And so far, we saw that this is the case. Most of the schools report that through this process, they realize things that they were not fully aware before. I think this is the most important step, to start this process, to start this journey, and for sure we're going to have something better at the end of this process. So I want to stop here. All the links are in the presentation. I can share with you the presentation. You can find also my contact details. As I said, from our side at the Italian National Research Council, the Institute for Educational Technology, we are developing this material. We are happy to support anyone who wants to reuse. All these material are under Creative Commons, and someone can take them, translate, and we're happy to create more language versions. And all of these materials are available for free, and would be very happy to see schools use them and found this material useful for their own practices. You're muted, Filippo.
Filippo, your mic is
Filippo, you're muted.
Sorry. So we gave Pan only half an hour because, of course, we had to pack all this intervention in a limited timing. However, I had a look at all the materials, even if I didn't yet take the full MOOC, but it's really solid. That's really a lot. As exactly as Pan said, there are examples, practical advices. It's really powerful tool. It does not yet include Romanian, but there's the English version. You can always use Google Translate from English to Romanian. It's acceptably good. These interesting projects is also piloting in many countries, as Panja says. So in the future, we could facilitate also some peer learning opportunities between some schools in Moldova and some schools in these other countries. I think if you see the examples, also the countries where they are more advanced, like Portugal, Spain, they are at the same stage. We are all moving all together on this topic. This is really a topic where you can peer learn and work together across Europe, all countries. I think you can find interesting experience from all countries. So I think this is really a very good opportunity. Thank you very much, Pan. If any of the guests has some questions for Pan, otherwise we move to the next session, which is not a formal one. It's an informal one. It's a start of a discussion, but I want to use this opportunity to investigate a bit with a few of our national and international partners, which are present to the event, to what extent they can, in the existing projects and initiative, support vet schools who want to experiment with a digital action plan in the context of school development plan or based purely on the results of selfie. This is not a commitment, of course. We are just opening the discussion. We want also then to engage the ministry if we move in that direction, that schools really start elaborating digital action plan. It would be good maybe if some international initiative and partners support them. I start with an example. We working together with OEAD on supporting Center of Excellence in working together with the schools which are affiliated with them. So each Center of Excellence has a number of schools for which is sort of responsible for in terms of teacher training, management training, in general, coordination of activities. And in this initiative, we have agreed, we have been asked by Silvio to support them also in developing action plans, school development plans. And we could, in this context, also support the Center of Excellence in developing digital action plans. This is not part of the activities agreed already, but this is a possibility. So I wanted to open the floor if there are other international partners who could make examples of projects in which they could support schools. This discussion can continue, of course, in our regular donors coordination meetings, but the idea would be really to map out of all the vet schools how many we could target. And this is something that we could map, and then we could inform the ministry. Is anyone who wants to take the floor, or is it too late for a Friday afternoon? Lina.
Yes, yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Lina, and I am from Austrian Development Agency. I just want to mention that in one of our ongoing projects that will end soon, by end of March, with the local NGO ProDidactica, we succeeded to develop 7 action plans in 7 schools that are focused on the digital development. So it was like a pilot project. Of course, the VET ICT school was the focus, the the brain of this exercise, and it went really very well. So for at least for the piloting, it was really very successful with a lot of feedback from the schools. So the first steps, the initial steps, received very positive feedback. So I think this is a good start to develop it further. As for the new projects that could take in this idea, I think ideally it should come from the ministry, to have a decision that all schools to embed in their action plans a part on digitalization. If this decision is taken by the ministry, I think most of the donors will support this and will be able to do it. And then, there is a logic of who is doing what. Otherwise, it could be a little bit chaotic. And then you have to find who did what and when and what they did, because everybody will do different things. So, but I'm at least for ADA, I can fully ensure you that we would be happy to support in our ongoing and new projects, and maybe even to develop the project that is focused on this in the future.
Thank you very much, Nina. I also think it's very interesting to actually share the projects that have already taken place. I mean, these pilots, and I think also the examples that Olga presented today. I think we will try to find ways and opportunities to share with other schools, because the peer learning element here is really crucial. Even if, I mean, as we've seen from this example from Spain, there might be a range of flexibility, autonomy to shape digital plans. At the same time, some coordination for the ministry, also in terms of which elements the ministry wants to see in the action plan, definitely is useful. So this is going to be a continuous discussion with the ministry and with Silvio. I've noticed it's very interesting that we have already a number of pilots implemented. Is there any other panel who wants to take the floor? Otherwise, we might move to the conclusions. Let me see the list. Okay. Well, Silvio, are you still with us?
Yes, of course.
Okay, then I pass you the floor. Let me, before just giving the floor for the conclusion, thank you very much again, all the speakers, all the people who participated. Again, I don't want to repeat it too much. It's difficult time, so it's glad that we kept the ball rolling. We'll make sure that we share the recording of these interventions with the policymakers and schools who could not attend, and we reiterate the availability of ETF, but I can say of JRC as well. And as Lina said, we can actually say that all international partners are really willing to continue the support in these areas according to the priorities, the timing, which is of course is essential considering the complexity of the reform of the education systems that the ministry is going to decide. So I'll pass you the floor, and thank you very much again to everybody for their participation.
Stimate domnule Filippo Dell'Ino, stimați...
Thank you so much, Mr. Filippo Berlino. Dear participants, Filippo Del Nino, apologize. Thank you so much, dear participants, for inviting me to learn about this tool and how it was applied in the Moldova thus far. Even though we gathered here in a difficult time, still we did manage to get involved all together, to get connected, and to listen about how selfie tool was used, what are the results, what are the examples for the future. And looking at the experiences, I understand that the results are reasonable, the results are useful, and they will be used in different planning exercises, both at the level and the local level. If to speak at the central level, the Ministry of Education is in process of completing the strategy Education 2030. And in this strategy, digitalization has an absolutely important role. And in the vocational training education, this is also added. We propose to implement this digitalization for the enrollment process. We hope that for the next educational year, for the next school year, we will have enrollment only online. Now we are working on an online catalog, and we propose to use from the 1st of September scoring for students only online. Also, our IT system was improved. Institutions are using it. So all of these processes and procedures are coming to support the institutions. And also we work intensively with our development partners to digitalize the teaching resources. We are aware that no other source is available than the digital learning teaching resources, because the physical textbooks are very expensive and it doesn't make sense to purchase them when we can have the digital copy. And this means that we can save money, because oftentimes the costs for printing textbooks, it's much higher, and we have to be very careful in our planning of these expenses. And looking at the selfie tool, certainly it will find its place in the vocational training sector. We take into account all the results and conclusions, and also the experiences mentioned uh, by the two countries, so that we can learn from it, and so that we can be in trend with the modern technologies. Even though the structure of our educational system is a small one, this allows us to have rapid and direct intervention. And if we compare our country with other countries, we don't need a lot of time for analysis, because we have a small country and we manage to implement the decisions in a rapid way. Of course, after we have analyzed and took the decision, and if we notice that the measures are not fully corresponding, we have the chance to update them, because we are such a small country. And ultimately, we want to bring a attractive and easy to use vocational training system to the students. Once again, thank you all the participants for taking advantage of this opportunity. Thank you to the experts for presenting this tool, and I would like to thank the representative of vocational training institutions for adopting this tool, for getting involved, improving their institution, which ultimately will help all the students to go through this process of education. And also, I would like to thank Mr. Filippo Del Nino for the cooperation we had until now, and I look forward for our continuous cooperation as we planned. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much again, Silvio. It was really a pleasure to work on this topic, and we look forward to continue. Thank you also very much to Veronica, who has been with us for these 2 days, who has had a huge role in all the self-implementation, and who is going to continue working with different partners in this and other areas related to educational reforms. I wish you a nice weekend, and you will receive presentations and recording of this event in the coming days or next week.